Welcome. Shalom. Peace be upon everybody. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate you. We were able to do a test run. I'm glad we did do a test run, so I know what to do from henceforth if we run into this again. I actually praise y'all because it opened up other platforms and channels. And I believe probably on your device, Minister Tamara has your face probably up top and mine on the bottom, something like that.
Yes.
Okay, it has some verse for me, but probably everybody else who will see this, they'll probably see us side to side. So that's fine from what I've been told, at least from what I saw. But thank you, everybody. Thank you to those who joined us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We appreciate you. Thank you for your time, talent, effort, energy, great stuff, finances, everything that you guys donate to us, even your time right now. Let's go ahead and get into this. And hopefully you guys will be able to hear our guest, Minister Tamara Fine, on both platforms. If you cannot, just let us know. And we'll do what we can as far as volume. But it looks like everything should be loud and clear. So let's go ahead. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable, or excuse me, may the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it's in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Aman. Welcome to everybody. Everybody, once again, thank you so much. Saladi Dadi, everybody, we appreciate you. We give all. I am Pastor Kofi, and this is Minister Tamara. We are part of Servants of Christ, but we are always changing lives one mind at a time. Being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken, we'd like to invite you tonight to come on and listen in. We've started having our ministerial staff. We'd like to have them coming on for Thursday, at least for this foreseeable future. And last week we had Elder Maya, my wife, the Honorable Maya, help us out to once again. We give our praise and honor to the Most High, and we give our praise and honor to the Most High for her. She lives a life to say to be honorable, so every chance I get a chance to honor her, I do so. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree, and we're thankful and grateful for her and what she does for the diaspora, to the SOC, ministerial staff. If you're part of the diaspora, if you agree, disagree, we appreciate you all. Getting back to what I was saying, we would like to have our ministerial staff come in and give a word and give a message and kind of get used to the TikTok thing, and hopefully it leads to them doing great things on their own through TikTok and stuff as well, but to make sure that people are getting a chance to use their gift in different ways. And so those who chose to, we have them set up to come on for the next few weeks, and we'll hopefully be continuing that for quite a long time. So we're thankful and grateful to have you guys on, and hello to everybody. Minister Tamara won't be able to see a lot of your comments. I think I might be able to see some of your comments on YouTube. Looks like I can see you. Hello, Coco. How you doing? So I may or may not be able to see you guys stuff on or shoot. But if you have questions, comments, and concerns, feel free to put them in the chat, and I will make sure that I give them to her as she sees fit. We only have a specific amount of time, probably about an hour 15 for our evenings usually. So I will kind of get out the way here. Minister Tamara, she has a subject matter that she's been given, and I guess we'll have a little conversation back and forth, but I'm going to let her take the lead. So we're thankful and grateful to have you guys on again. Minister Tamara, feel free to do what you do.
Well, the topic tonight is basically speaking, and it's not just speaking towards men. I feel like it's speaking towards us as a nation, but about the development of abstinence and obedience in our leadership. And I am speaking specifically towards men. As I was researching for actually the sermon I'm going to do for Women in Red, December 24th, everybody needs to be there. When I was researching for that about women's roles, I came across this verse in Second Esdras. So I'm going to read it for you all. It is in Second Esdras, chapter 7. Sorry about this delay. And we'll start in verse 48.
Mm-hmm.
So it begins, O thou Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was thou that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. For what profit is it unto us if there be promised us an immortal time when we have done the works that bring death? And there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves are being most wicked, are made vain, and that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly. Verse 52. And that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a weary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked of ways of all, and that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endures forever, wherein security and medicine, whereas we cannot enter into it. For we have walked in unpleasant places, and that the face of them that have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, where our faces are blacker than darkness. So in this particular verse, I believe it's both literal and symbolic, and the abstinence is not just is abstaining for anything that is, outside of righteousness, anything that abstaining from wickedness, abstaining from the fruit of the flesh, abstaining from even being amongst it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking specifically, honestly, towards sex, it is a huge issue in our community with pregnancies, divorce rates, broken families and so forth. And no, I'm not saying like ours is more prevalent than others. Actually, we have scientific proof that our men are actually in the home more than any other males and so forth. But we need more of that representation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what I often hear, especially like, going through TikTok and so forth, and as I've been, as this awakening has come, I constantly just hear people, and I'll admit it, I hear a lot of males who are Hebrew Israelites, now becoming followers of Yah, but they're constantly telling women what they need to be doing. And it is not that we cannot adhere to anything. It's not that we cannot take correction or teaching or anything of that. But I feel like, just as for myself, it starts at home. My
Mm-hmm.
correction, me showing forth Yahweh's glory, me walking in truth, me walking in peace, me being a representative of joy starts with myself. And then I share that and teach that to my children. And then they see that, and then other people will see that as we go out into public and we behave ourselves and conduct ourselves as servants of Yah. Like that's how it spread. So what I find though is that people just we're not taking accountability for our actions. And it that scripture that reads is that you're concerned about the mote in your brother's eye, but you're not thinking about the tree in your own. And I always feel like, if you're going to be, if you want to be the head, you want to be in charge, you want to be the king, that takes a heavy responsibility. And it's not just you reaping all the rewards of having someone to serve you, having someone to give you accolades, you making all the money, you controlling the purses. But when things go left and there's a famine in the land, or we don't have enough money, or people are not being fed, or the children, are needing your attention, your advice, just, your concern at all, you can't say that that's somebody else's fault. That's the queen's fault. That's the, what I'm saying, my wife's fault and the mother's fault, when you haven't laid a correct foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, if we skip to verse 59, still in Second Esdras 7, verse 59, it reads, "For this is the life of where Moses spake unto the people where he lived, saying, Choose thee life that thou mayest live." And so we all know that life is contained in Yahweh's laws. All of his commandments are for us, and everything that he keeps directing us to do is so that we can have like true eternal life. And also it gives us a better life here on earth, this for
Mm-hmm.
this temporary time. But it just really made me think about where what we need for our man. So I used to always have this discussion with my son. I've always been very open with him. We've been able to have like great conversations about things. But I used to tell him, I'm like, if men would not show attention and affection to women who dress promiscuously, or wore a lot of fake things, were over sexualized, if these women were, if men did not approach or attract or try to go for those women, then that women would change how they behave. I feel like women would change how they talk, adjust how they dress, because we do things to try to attract men, be it whether we trying to get the education, whether we're trying to dress a certain way, where we are trying to partner. We're trying to put ourselves out there as beautiful, worthy, and so forth. So I feel like if men's standards change, then we as the women would be like, well, he wants someone who's more modest. He wants someone who studies, the Most High's word all the time. He wants someone who can speak life over him. He wants someone, who knows the scripture as well as he does. He wants someone that's open to submission unto the mission that Yahweh has given to him, if that's what he's doing. But I feel like men do need to take the lead. As a part of you being a provider and a protector, you are providing a foundation. So you can't get all the accolades of generational wealth until you establish a foundation for
Mm-hmm.
generational wealth. You can't say that I want to lead nations and I want to lead all these people and have all of this money and have all this land and so forth, and you haven't established a foundation to do that, and you haven't partnered yourself and made correct choices about who that you're partnering with to even establish this foundation. So the I think um it just came down to me that I felt like if men treated themselves a bit more of the pride of the prize, um good men, good husbands, those who have become learned and and seek to learn how to be good husbands, good leaders, good heads of household. Um, they are all they understand that their protection and provision is not always financial. There was a spiritual protection that is required for you to protect the spirits of your children and of your household. There is a um, emotional protection that you need to provide as a father, to so that they feel safe, not just that they are safe, but that they feel safe. And even in provision, it is not always the financial provision, but I need you to provide leadership, I need you to provide advice, I need you to provide even times of joy and peace, so that they know what that looks like and how that develops in a healthy progressive nation. So yeah, I just felt like this was a topic where I feel like, just like the question was, is Adam, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
That he spoke to him in Genesis 3 and 9. And again, I don't feel that that question was a literal question, because he obviously knows who he is, but that it was a spiritual question for him to take a look at himself and say, are you where you need to be? Are you in alignment? Are you doing what you're truly being? Where are you? Where's your brain at? You know
Mm-hmm.
how we say, so you must be out of your mind. You are not where you need to be,
Mm-hmm.
because you are making some incorrect choices. And I feel the
Yeah.
same thing when he's like, what have you done? Is it's like you not thinking about the impact that your choices are making on yourself, regardless of what anybody else is doing. what
Mm-hmm.
what are your personal choices? How is that impacting your environment? How is that impacting your children? How are you impacting your third and fourth generations
Mm-hmm.
that are going to carry is where you are what you want to pass on? Is that the because where you are is what your legacy going to be, till you move it, till you change it, till you do
Mm-hmm.
something different.
Yeah.
um So it's not to disparage men. I thought about this like a few times. I was just like, oh, they were like, she a man. I am not a man basher, because I feel like everybody needs to take accountability,
Mm-hmm.
and take some abstinence from some things. And me being a single woman as well is just the fact that it's a prominent thing for me. Me abstaining from interacting with certain people. Me abstaining from being, there's no going to the clubs. There's no bars. there's no hanging
Mhm.
out, like, he's inviting me to something else, so now I'm eating something else. And you can't go back to, once Yahweh has laid out a table for you and you become aware of what is supposed to be on that table, you lose an appetite. And
Mhm.
so we need to take a look at our appetites, and stop worrying necessarily about what's on somebody else's plate, but what are you laying the foundation of as men in our communities? What are these young boys learning from you? What foundation are you laying for them so that they can build? Because you may not get to build your family, you may not get to see the generational wealth that may come from it, but what foundation are you laying so that future generations and those who are following behind you, what legacy are you leaving for them to even try to lay a foundation? And so that's where I was with it today.
No, I mean all of that sounds great, and I think it comes to because you said something that was key, which is the foundation and really community, and it comes to a place once again. I agree with you in everything, and I think it comes to a place like where is the mindset at, and the out of the land of our captivity, right? Like because it's a
Absolutely.
harsh it's like it's one of those catch 22s or whatever, however you would say it. It's one of those things that's difficult to deal with because it's like one of those chicken or the egg conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got a lot of, so first of all, going back to some of the stuff you even said, you got a lot of brothers who are doing their best to come into this because they have lacked power, and so a lot of them are coming in simply because, hey, at least there's a place I'm allowed to have power.
Right.
But power, what's the comic book phrase or whatever? With great power comes great responsibility or whatever,
That's right.
right? Like, and so, but a lot of brothers, it's like, for example, when we talk about our Hebrew Israelite brethren, and I have mad love for all of them. Any of them watching on all the platforms we're on, mad love and mad respect for a lot of things that you do. However, like one of the things that they do is the same thing that you might see other groups do, which is brothers coming out of prison, brothers that are in poverty, brothers that have been hurt by women, brothers that are treated like nerds, and therefore, since you were a nerd and you wanted to do the right thing and nobody cared about you, now we'll give you a place to where you can bash or where you can do this or whatever. So it's kind of like a catch 22 where it's like we have a community where we're still dealing with some Willie Lynch stuff, with some Deuteronomy
Mm-hmm.
8 stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and we got sisters and brothers who are so conditioned to hate each other that we haven't, as the Song of Degrees has told us, we haven't turned from our captivity again.
Yes.
Like,
Still in
so
that survival mode.
right. So you have women that have been raised for generations to make sure that they are strong and independent, which Willie Lynch put on us. And you have men that have been raised to be in the background and just, hey, I need to do this. Okay, I'm finished doing that. Let me go in the background and not be seen, heard, talked about. Women wears the pants, this, that, or whatever. So a lot of men are afraid because I mean, think about what society said. That's why the coming out of it and us establishing strong men. Once again, it's one of those things where it's hard because it's like we well, without getting in our conversation we had, I'll say that I say all the time on the live, I'm not called to everything. So it's like I'm not really called to develop men of the world. However, I'm called to set up something where these men of the world can come out to be developed. And
Mm-hmm.
on us, like you said, see, so those of us that are even for Romans 15:1, those that are strong, we can take on those infirmities of the weak, but I can't
Yes.
take on your infirmity if you want to stay there. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, if I'm out and about, and there's women that are dressed scantily, this and that or whatever. I won't say what the term is, but my wife and I, we share a term where if I see a woman dressed a certain way, I'm like, oh, you see that? That's blah, blah, blah. And she'll laugh, but she laughs because it's true. Like my description is like kind of vulgar, but it's like, I don't really, like, even when I was into pornography and stuff, I didn't, it's weird how the mind works. Your flesh liked it, but you didn't want to be with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's always been something that's there. But once again, these young brothers are being told, hey, if you talk about her sexuality, you're somebody who hates women. If you talk about the fact that there's, people will be like, well, hey, in these tribes, women do blah blah whatever. Yeah, because they're not in that captivity. Like they might have been in captivity in certain places, but yeah, sure, they might have grown up seeing their sisters walking around with nothing bare chested, and so for them, it's not the same thing. But you grew up and you saw, and by the way, they're starting now to be introduced to it, so they're getting into stuff too that we have been in. But but if you see that, yeah, sure, okay, so they might not object objectify women the way that we do. Sure. However, we're not over there. So before you tell me this, all that's fine and everything, but when you go to the store, you're not even having women that make your clothes. You're having gay men make your clothes. They're not even attracted. So, and then when they have you wear your clothes, they're making sure that your breast is showing. They want your areola to be showing. They're making bathing suits to wear like it's this close to being illegal, and you could be arrested
Yes.
if the
Some
wrong
countries
wage comes
not even
by.
legal.
Yeah, or even in America, there's stuff that's not legal,
Hmm.
so when they be this close, like to wear stuff like that. So it's like, but you're told, hey, don't say something about that because you shouldn't say it's like abortion, right? The dreaded A word. Don't talk about it because you talk about it, you don't have control over a woman's body. Well, once again, so that's what. So I agree with you. I think it comes to the place where what are we gonna do to come into a different society? Hey, babe, my wife is on the honorable Maya. How you doing? You know, she said, "Yeah." So I'm glad she's excited. But what are we going to do to set up a community in which boys are raised to be men who we don't play that, we don't look at it that way, we don't do this, we don't, we respect our women, and I think that's one of the biggest things is we have sisters that aren't even raised to be sisters,
Yes.
sisters that aren't raised to look, even if you're not married or whatever, like we're not even raised to be like, should I look for a community where these things are the standard, where there's
Right.
father figures that
Exactly.
even look around. And let's be honest, a lot of pastors, a lot of men, like you said, a lot of elders, whatever you want to call us, we just as down and dirty as everybody else, and we don't live culture. We speak Bible, but we don't live culture. So I definitely agree with you. It's one of those catch-22 where it's like it has to be a community thing first. And so those of us that are doing those things, that has to be like we were talking when Elder Maya was on last Thursday, and we were discussing how the most protected place in our society nowadays needs to be the womb. The womb of the garden, because we the womb is like where everything's supposed. It's become a playground. It's become a playground for multiple spirits, multiple men. Babies can be ripped out of there. Like it's become a place where it's not sacred. And
Right.
therefore, if that which enters in the phallus, therefore is not sacred. It's not. We don't like. We think more about a woman's chasteness. Like you talk about abstinence today. That's part of the
Hmm.
problem. I think because of that, we put a woman's chastity above a man's chastity. And so we don't think anything of, hey, the hymen breaks, ooh, that's taboo. But what about that you've been sticking your stuff in all this stuff?
Right.
Taboo too. We don't talk to men like that. We don't talk to brothers like that. So brothers will be talking about, yeah, my son, he can do blah blah whatever. But my daughter, I'm gonna make sure it's like, and I've had to stop my friends, or well, yeah, I guess I still call some of them friends. I had to stop sometimes and be like, "Yo, bro, like, hold on, what you just say?" Yeah,
Like,
but my daughter, blah blah. I'm like, what about your boy?
and
You
and see, you're creating a lot of unequal yokes in that way. So now they're not on the same page. She has been taught that you need to be chaste, you're a prize, you're supposed to conserve yourself, wait for your husband, but she's being ha- harassed. I'm gonna be honest,
Mhm.
harassed and stalked by someone who's like, spread your seed everywhere and it don't matter. So you're creating this unevenness. It's also a part of the reason why it's this seven women to one man thing, and we have these disproportionate ratios because people are like literally not on the same page. We are not walking in the same direction, and we're raising like two different sets of children.
Yeah, and it's abstinence, not just from the physical, but abstinence
Yeah.
from things of the world. I'm sorry, babe. What
Yeah.
you said? That you just looked up a friend found out her brother's, sorry, pregnant. Rich girlfriend was found dead. First thing he thought was foul play due to pregnancy. Yeah, there can be stuff like that
Mm-mm.
too. So but we're in a lot of different situations, and the um I'm sorry, where you? Oh yeah, we're in a lot of situations, and the stuff that happens. You have a lot of brothers once again, where it's not this. Once again, there's not a standard. Um, Abstinence is not something that's looked like fondly upon. And matter of fact, it's something like a teacher, a female teacher, can sleep with a little boy,
Mm.
and fathers will high five their boys, right, rather than call the
Like,
police.
no, that child was molested. He
Yeah,
needs
they were.
therapy.
Yeah, they were molested. They were raped, and they need healing when they get older. After they finish acting like it's been fine for years, they come to people like me, 40, 50 years old, and we got to talk to them
Mm.
because yeah, you shouldn't have been touched. And you weren't ready for marriage because sex is marriage, marriage is sex. But once again, what is the standard? Do we have a standard that says
Right.
that should be put above? So when you talk about abstinence for men, it's not just that, but even abstinence as far as like, okay, for example, um, I'm raising a boy, so I'm raising a man. And raising that man, I take him away abstinence from certain things. And somebody and even and sometimes a sister, even though she might do that, sometimes their sisters be like, "Why are you dealing with this? Why are you doing that?" I promise you, as a man, that leads to things, right? So he will not do that, or even not just sexually. Absent as far as I hear somebody talking, oh man, you know what? This is this and that or whatever, and man, that's so man, you weak and blah blah this and that. Turn that off. Why turn that off? Because I need him to come away from a mindset that type of thing or having feelings or something like that they're talking about in their little video is weak.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
Right.
hey, and that's what develops like a lot of stuff that makes strong men is actually the things that we're shielded from. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the strength there. Like my son's taking kung fu since he's 2. He's now 7. So by the time he hits adulthood, he'll be black belt, da da da, and all this stuff or whatever easily. And in his journey, there's certain things that like because he's gone through the training now and he's been shielded. Like if he needs to, he can fight, but he's not out there learning by fighting every day.
Mm-hmm.
When I get in this situation, or if it calls for me, or hey, I can put my hand out to stop you, but if you mess around, you can get whatever, right? Like you,
Right.
like there's certain things where it's like, okay, I'm learning, I'm being shielded, and by being shielded, I'm being given an opportunity to be able to be ready for those things. And a lot of brothers have not been shielded, so you get to a certain age, I can tell you, and this is who knows what it is now. This back, but I can tell you in times skip kindergarten, so maybe even preschool, but probably definitely by first grade, you already hearing about sex. Even
Mm-hmm.
knows what it is. People lying. You get older and you're like, oh, they didn't know what they were talking about. But at the age,
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
everybody
even
knows.
in the cartoons, they make, sly,
Hmm.
slick little, innuendo. It's a lot of innuendo.
Yeah, not even that. There was one he that popped up on our screen the other day where somebody was straight up using the GAY word and just throwing it out there, and it was like something that was supposed to be about like anime stuff or whatever they're supposed to be making fun of. And I got what they were trying to say as far as some of the anime stuff these guys get into. It be a little suspect, so it's kind of funny, but it was like out of nowhere. Like you just watching it. I thought it was brought to me. Like, did you see what he wanted? I'm thinking, like, okay, I'm watching it and it looked fine. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's gonna be too violent for the look of it. No, they just start throwing words out there and start doing this and start looking at guys' muscles and they slowing the stuff down as they're posing. And
Yeah.
it's like they just threw it out there. But so it's like even in that, it's like even when you're trying to shield, it's so much stuff that's thrown out there, and it's really the shielding.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of brothers have now. It's interesting. We haven't been shielded from trauma. We haven't been shielded, and sometimes we get shielded from the wrong things. But like we get shielded from crying, we get shielded from saying
Mm.
"I love you," we get shielded from father figures, we get shielded from non-perverted love of men. Like I make sure I kiss my son on his forehead at least once a day, and I tell him I love you all the time because it's something I didn't get. And he shares my love language. My love language, words of affirmation. So I've studied him enough to know like he needs to hear. If I'm gonna tell him he's bad, he needs to hear at least several times a day. How righteous he is and how well he's doing.
Right.
It's but we don't have that. We've been shielded from that, but we haven't been shielded from little boys told you the man of the house. We haven't been shielded like that stuff that you should be shielded from until you are ready to actually be qualified for marriage. And then even when you are a husband, you still don't become a husband until somebody says you're worthy of being their
Right.
husband.
You're still not the man of this house. You
Right.
can be
But
man of that house.
yeah, and
You
we've
got
been put in, so we're not shielded.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of stuff like that. So I agree with you, that Adam's there also too. There's the oneness and the connectivity because you also have to go with our example, going back to scripture before I go too far away from it. You have, and in Genesis when we're talking about where art thou, or about a shop, where art thou, or what have you done? Excuse me, where art thou? What have you done, etc. Like it also is talking to the fact that like he's in that position because he didn't listen to the Most High, and he didn't listen to that. He listened to his wife, first, which is an iffy thing because if you're not careful, it goes into this thing that we do within our own community all the time as far as hating each other. But
Hmm. He
reality
threw
that's
her
there
under the
was
bus.
this,
Be
huh?
honest. He threw
What
her
I'm just
under the
saying is
bus.
a reality that was there that was like, hey, you got the command and you did it anyways, and then you brought it to your husband. Now nothing had happened as far as them losing their countenance yet.
Right.
So he could have
Right.
squared it away because he came first. So that's what. So I get what you're saying as far as heavy is the head that wears the crown. However, it was a union, right? It wasn't that one did it. If Eve had done it, it didn't say everything went down. It didn't say cursing
Correct.
came. It didn't say blah,
Correct.
blah, blah, because there was still a covering. And
Correct.
we want to have this wife. We want to have any woman or any girl, not a wife, but we. And then when we get blessed with a wife, we want her to do wifely things and never want to make sure that we are in the covering. Because if I'm going to cover something, it means that I can't have holes. It means I have to be able to be stretched.
That's
Uh,
right.
it means that I have to go through a process of being what is it, refurnished, refurbished, whatever.
Yeah, refurbished.
Yeah, I have to go through a process of going through certain detail. I have to be willing to be a sacrifice. You know, if
That's right.
the roof takes is sacrifice. The roof goes through years and years and years of obstruction of all types of damage. Things like if I were to put a human being and waterboard them, right? They can't take. If I were to put a rag over somebody's face and just keep dripping water, you feel like you're going to die. But the roof has to take all that. It's designed to be able to
That's
do that.
right.
But we have a generation of men that have been raised who wants to be protectors but can't take a drop of water. You know, it's very
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So it's a very difficult thing to deal with. But shalom, everybody. I'm sorry that I'm trying to make sure that we miss any comments, questions, concerns. Hello, everybody. You're hearing the voice of Minister Tamara. If you weren't already aware, if you're just coming on, let's see. Any questions, comments, or concerns? By the way, while we're going through this, I know I haven't been saying anything to you guys like we normally do, but we're just paying attention and listening in. And if you have something, maybe there's something that you must want to piggyback on. Somebody said, "Well put." All right, thank you. Let's see. How you doing, Sister Carrie, and everybody? Sorry, I probably won't go name by name today because we've been. I know I missed a lot of you guys. Any questions, comments, or concerns while we're waiting for 'em, I would say, as a single woman, as a single mother, what are some things that maybe maybe what are some personal experiences you've had as far as since you brought up the topic today, as far as being waiting and being obedient, making sure that we're chaste, making sure that we have our purpose in place, and becoming what it is that is worthy of being. I don't know if followed is the right direction, but having a
Mm.
mission for us to submit to the mission. What are some things that your personal experience like could have helped as far as things you've seen in the community or people that things that they've done that you as a woman, as a sister, as a queen, as a mother, as somebody who's a wife even without marriage, pre-qualified, like
Absolutely.
like what are some things that could have definitely helped if you had a husband, or I don't even mean you weren't with a man. I'm talking about even like if you want to go that route, that's fine. But I was even talking about just in general, as far as like, have you seen something at the store that kind of messed with you as far as you saw somebody else doing something? Have you seen something on television? Have you seen something raising your son? Have you
Um,
little girls that come after your son that maybe your son should have known, seen an example of blah, blah, whatever?
not the
Like,
little girls.
hey, I mean,
um, I can speak from my own experience, and the thing is like lately, I've had exes, reach out to me. And one asked me, he was just like, why didn't we work out? And the other one was like, oh, you were really a great girlfriend. I really wish we had worked out. And one of my exes like really summed it up well, as to why we didn't work out. And he was like, you did not feel like I was ready to be like in a serious relationship, to be a husband, honestly.
mhm.
And so you tried to give me, opportunity to go and do that and grow and become, whatever it is, become a man and become, husband ready
You said you
and
gave
so
up.
forth.
You mean while y'all were together? You mean you let him go? So,
Correct. Correct. So we were
so
together
may I ask a question then?
go ahead.
This is a question. Uh, why? You can tell me because obviously we ain't got to get
I'm
on.
I'm really a
So you
bad
need to tell
open
me to
book,
shut up. You
so
can
go
tell me to
ahead.
shut up. But why do you believe? Why do you believe that sisters do that? Because I think that's something that's also part of it is where there's a lot of men who get into relationships and we're treating them like husbands like before they deserve it. You know, we're they're whether you laying down with them or not. You know, in a sense, they're getting the milk without paying for the cow. So they're getting certain things that they shouldn't be getting yet. That they don't deserve yet, that they're not responsible enough to take yet, that they're not accountable. Why do you think that a lot of sisters allow that to happen?
Um, Honestly, it's because they don't have a good foundation at home.
Mm,
I came from a wonderful household where I had both of my parents. I had a very strong father figure. He was very much a whole husband. My mother was very much a whole wife. They were a wonderful, wonderful example. They had their issues. They argued. They wound up separating, later in the marriage and so forth. But overall, my parents gave me a very amazing example. And even though I didn't take that with me into my dating life. It's not something who was like, oh yeah, I had a good example. This is not it. Um, Even though I didn't like listen to them, but I did take it in, and I was trying to figure out like why my relationships wouldn't work, and
mm,
it would be because I'm a wife. I
mm,
wasn't built to be a girlfriend. I wasn't trained up to be a girlfriend. I was trained up to be a wife. And my spirit was recognizing when I would end these relationships, my spirit was recognizing this person is not a husband. He's not there yet. And it wasn't a disparagement. Again, I know every time a black woman say we don't like something about black men, we hateful, but it wasn't a disparagement. He just wasn't there, and I
mm,
was, and it's something that I've honestly seen in and my son as well. Is I raised him to be a husband. I didn't raise him to be a boyfriend. I didn't raise him to be somebody you could just play with temporarily, and then y'all might work out. I raised him to be a husband. So I feel like the reason why they don't is because they didn't get something that they needed at home. They didn't get and it's not necessarily like just from like their parents are so responsible, but just even within just their environment of this is what a wife is, this is
mm,
how a wife is treated well, this is what happens when a husband and a wife are in their correct roles and they are working in partnership with one another. And if you don't get to see it, um even like I said, not even necessarily just in the home. If you don't get to see it in, your auntie and uncle relationship, or whomever, people at church who you spend time with, your friends' parents. If you don't
mm,
ever get to see it, you won't ever. How can you know without the hearing? You can't come to them. You can't come to truth until somebody tell it to you. And if somebody's been telling you lies this whole time, or someone's been deceiving you, or someone's been raising you up the way they have been raised, you're gonna continue to do what has been done. We don't have diabetes because um
mm. That's a
it's
great
not
example.
genetic that we have diabetes. This is what we eat the way our parents ate, and they ate the way their parents ate, and that's the reason why you got it. It's not a genetic thing. So um I
Mm,
feel like that's a whole thing. Even when like my parents separated when I was about 21, and it really did affect me. I became promiscuous. I was wild. It's really
mm,
crazy too because I'm in college now. I'm not a child anymore. But it really did affect me emotionally not having my father physically in the home anymore.
mm,
And it took me time to come back into um recognizing what a husband is, what a
mm,
and see, I don't like using the term good husband or great husband because you're supposed to be great. Just being a husband is supposed to
mhm,
be greatness, period. But I was raised in a household where I knew what a husband when my father worked and my father was there for his children. He never denied me affection, time with him. Oh, he would talk me to death. Talk to me. Like if don't ask advice because he gonna give it to you.
mhm.
Um
And there's nothing probably that you miss more than some of
lo-
that. You know,
just
at the time,
longing
at the
for
time we don't even
him.
think about it. At the time we don't think about
Longing.
Yeah.
like longing for him. So I think that's what it is. And it's something that, he passed away about 10, 12 years ago, but I
Mm,
still like seek for his advice. I seek, I was like, I wish you could tell me this, that, and the other. But thankfully I realized of how learned my father was, how much relationship he had with Yahweh. Because when I think about on the advice that he did give me, all of it came out the word, like
mm,
all of it. So I was blessed to have a strong foundation, and I think that's part of the issue. And I think we tend to blow over that. It's not something that you necessarily get over, especially if you're not even aware that you are lacking this foundation. I think that's part of
right.
it too. Like you might not even be aware that you're lacking this,
Yeah.
this cultural
Hmm.
ideology
Well,
that will
it's
help,
like
better you.
the necessity of a father. Like
Yes,
we don't even
yes,
think it's like the analogy we use a lot when we talk about the house. Like if you want a husband, he has to be a foundation,
that's
and
right.
nobody ever walks into a house and ever thinks about the foundation. Matter of fact, dangerously, a lot of people buy homes and never once look
And don't
at
look
the
right.
foundation of the home that they bought, and that's one of the most dangerous things you can do,
Right.
because the home will crumble due to the lack of foundation. But it's like,
Exactly.
but once again, we don't build homes from the foundation up. We build homes from the living room up. It's like,
Right.
so in our
We
mind,
start in the kitchen, eating first.
yeah, hey, the dining area, does the feng shui work to where, like, when I come in the front door, does everything go out through the back door correct? And if I go up this way, does the garden area look fine? And all those things are great. But, the garden, even speaking of the garden, the womb and all that stuff, like the garden is not, is great and everything, but there's still a foundation to the house, and the
That's
house is
right.
connected to the foundation. And that's one of the things, once again, saying it's that catch 22. It's like, you need a strong foundation with zero cracks and much effort, and somebody should revisit it from time to time and make sure
To
that it's
make sure.
stuff as well. And while that's being done, the house is the only thing that's really connected to it. So unless you're an expert, somebody who has the ability to look from the outside in and tell if the foundation is correct or not, unless you're an expert, what usually happens is we have a lot of non-experts that pay attention to the house or the family, but don't think about the father. And it's gotten to a place where that opened the door to, I think I can't remember the percentages, but somewhere around 80, it's almost like 80-20 rule. Some of them dangerously like 90%. But like, as far as, if you see how courts work today, and stuff like that, like 80 to 90% of the divorces that happen are usually going to be because the sister is asking for it. No problem there until you go, okay, well, 80%, like 90 something percent of the time, the husband is going to, or the former husband at that point, is going to not only be able to not be with his child, but still has to pay 80 something percent. And I'm not saying that we have to come down on women for this. What I'm saying is there's a system that when you keep looking at it and you start peeling back more and more, and you go, well,
Hmm.
80-20 rule, 80% of them are basically not only going to not be able to see their child as much, some won't be able to see them at all. And also
Right.
then you start going to a place where it's like 90 something percent, or maybe it's 80 something, but it's 80% bare minimum. And all these, it's something like 80% of the men that are in prison came from homes without a father. And it's like,
Right.
start looking at this over and over again, and it's like this foundation where there's a system, there's a spirit that's there, there's a problem for a lot of us, where we've been raised in a system that says, even though it's dangerous to raise a motherless child, right? We talked about that some today as well.
Yes.
But it's dangerous to raise a motherless child. Also, though, it's dangerous to rear a fatherless child. And
That's
the problem,
right.
we're still having that Malachi 4:6 problem. The hearts of the fathers haven't turned
Hmm.
right to the children yet, and the hearts of the children are returned to the father, because the children don't have a heart for the father because of the
Yeah.
they're in. Like, one of the greatest things as a father for me is when I talk to my child, or when I come home, or when whatever, he runs, "Dad," jumps in your arms, and like, you've been waiting on you for years, like, there's nothing like that, and that's something that I never thought about, because it becomes a norm for you. And my father worked 2.5 jobs, so I rarely saw my father during the week. I saw him if I got up early enough, just enough to see him walking out the door, and was always had to be in the bed by the time he got home. So I never really saw him. But those Sundays, I remember the only reason I even care, because I don't really care for the NFL at all that much anymore. The only reason I care for the NFL is nostalgia, because on a Sunday,
Right.
I was off work. And even if I wasn't talking to dad, I got to see him yell at the screen watching
Right.
football on Sunday. So I'm not even a Dallas Cowboy fan, never, or well, I guess I never really was, but he liked Dallas. I like that. I don't care about it, whatever. But the only reason I care is because of my father cared. The only reason I care about
Right.
basketball is a few times I got to go do something. A lot of times it might be him and his boys playing basketball. And because I was tall, and at one point before I hurt myself that I was going to play, they might let me come out there and play with them or whatever, right? So like,
Mhm.
those are the things of a father, and you keep that hit. My work ethic comes from my father. My mother might have been the one spiritually inclined in the house, but every time we need to go somewhere for a service or something like that, my father was gonna make sure we got there, even if he wasn't gonna come in, because it was something like dad was gonna make sure these things happened to be. And so,
Right.
that's part of it, is like we don't even look at that as a necessity. Like a lot of guys, well, yeah, he's a great father, but he's not in the home. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He's a great father. No, it does. Like he's
It
not
does.
home, and like you said, even in your 20s, it messed you up. I know. Well, I won't speak on people's personal stuff, but there are people who are part of SOC I've talked to, and otherwise before then, and even outside still to this day, where you talk to them, you do one-on-one sessions, and you listen to them, and a lot of it, like when dad got out the house, blah 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 happened, or I love my dad, strong guy, this and that, and all this stuff. And the way you talk about him, you be like, oh, you think to yourself, oh, they were together, forever. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, this is the first time I'm hearing, or in my thought process, your mom and your dad were always together. The way I hear you talk about them, so I didn't even realize they were separated, because they can still be great examples of parents. But there's something
Right.
about, like you said tonight, there's something about we're together. There's something about, like, for me personally, there's something about when I'm walking down the street and I'm holding my wife's hand. Like, it could be, yeah, we're in different places, but when we're together and we're holding hands, especially put my son in the mix where he's seeing it, there's something about that for me personally, even though I'm not the son, as a husband, where I'm just like, this is complete. This is what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
When we go
Wholeness.
when we go in the store, yeah, it's whole. Exactly. Like it's holy. It's hakodash. It's exactly where I'm supposed to be. And for a lot of people, that's not even something that we even think about nowadays anymore. We don't consider it. Our examples, our artists, our actors. Matter of fact, you study an actor and his wife, you're waiting for the breakup nowadays. Like
Hmm.
waiting to pick up. What is it? I
I'm
don't
surprised
even
they last that long.
people, us, whatever these magazines are. You pick them up. You're waiting to see somebody. Oh, so
Hmm.
oh, okay, Brad Pitt, when he gonna be finished with this one next? I know Jennifer, I know Angelina. I don't know who, if he got a new one yet, and I don't know. But I'm so you can tell I'm old, whatever, or old school, and I don't even know who's whatever. But or like, hey, oh, Johnny Depp, he left his wife 14 years. He got with this new one. It's too bad that he did this. You know how, and even men acting like women. You know how women are. Blah blah. Okay, now we just waiting for him to get with the next one, so that we can see, is there going to be drama from this one. We don't even care about the actual relationship. We're waiting on the breakups, and it's a dating mentality. We have dated mentality. Like, we don't think to train up for one husband, one wife, only one
Right.
person worthy of being able to have the best of you either way. If you're a sister, no man should be able to come in your garden unless he's worthy of it. If you're a man, your semen, as my wife teaches, is like the best of yourself. um, so it's like but we just give it up, or we, hey, you know what, if we can avoid certain things, just cover it up with something, and you can still do whatever. It's like, no, like, you've been, your whole life, your whole existence, the whole earth resonates with this frequency that comes from your wholeness. And
Hmm.
so I don't envy, well, I'm a parent now myself too, but I mean, I don't envy parents that are going to be, 20 something year old parents. I don't envy children that are growing up today, because you growing up in the system, especially if you don't have somebody to take you out of the system. That's like the tough
Right.
part. Is like, so many of them live every day. Like I said, I learned more about sex in school than I learned about anywhere else. I learned more about drugs in school. I learned more about, even though I'm not against it, but I learned more about weed in school. Weed was provided by somebody, and I didn't smoke it, but I could have smoked weed in junior high. People were selling it in junior high. There were people were talking about, like, did you have sex with so and so? Because I guess girl like me or whatever. I'm like, no.
Mm-mm.
I come to find out, girl was having menage a trois and this and that or whatever. Like, I learned about terms I never knew existed, or even that I knew
Yes.
people. This stuff I learned for it. Um, for the first time there. So we're not really like conditioned or prepared or thinking about those things. The system that people are in now is like do everything outside of marriage. Matter of fact, now the new thing is marriage is just a trap to get you in the system. Well, even with that, why not learn how to be a king or a queen, become sovereign, do a marriage, and have your own marriage license and stuff that you can do within yourself? Why do you have to go through the state? Make your cover
Right.
your marriage lawfully, rather than saying the state of Illinois, the state of California, the state of Louisiana, whatever, is saying that that's you have to.
Hmm.
But we don't think about marriage belonging to the Most High. Like it's marriage is something that either you got to be in debt to each other, or not. Rather than work together, we got to be in debt. You know?
Right. Exactly. And I think about the rest of that verse when it's just like, when you fall, like you took other people with you, basically,
Yeah.
to paraphrase. And the thing is that your relationships or lack thereof, or however they influence like your whole community. It's not just you that was in the middle of that divorce. It wasn't just you and your girl fighting in the street. It's
Mm.
not just affecting you. You're
Yeah.
affecting other households. You're affecting like a lot of people. And I don't think that um one thing that I've learned as I'm coming back into the truth is for me to take accountability for my actions that may have contributed for somebody else stumbling, or even contributed to myself, causing myself to stumble.
Hmm.
um I always have told my son, I was like, when you get mad at somebody about something they do, look at yourself first and make sure that you did not contribute to the conflict in this situation. Take some
Hmm.
self accountability first, and that'll allow you to be a little more empathetic towards other people, or it may absolve you. You're like, I didn't do anything wrong, and you are absolutely in the wrong, but you have something to stand on now because
And not to stop
you
you,
thought about it.
and not to stop you, I want you to keep going. I just want to say, when you even say accountability, that word account, even like an accountant, like somebody got to be willing to take account, and if you're not like, can you do a self audit? And a lot of people don't
Yes,
audits, but
yes,
great businesses have great audits. People who make a whole bunch of money, if they don't want their money stolen, even your accountant needs to be audited from time to time, which means we have to have a standard, and we don't have a standard practice. We don't have somebody who gets paid per se, or somebody who's in position, or even a community that we have, or somebody that we say this is who gets to audit us, and I think,
mm-hmm.
again, going back to what you talking about earlier, and then I'm gonna get out your way again,
Mm.
but like getting like the audit, like who are the men, who are the ones who live by the standard? Do we even know how to identify if they live by the standard? But who are the men that are in a position that get to come and say, son, that's not blah blah blah, or even the men who are on men of a mission. Because once again, as we always say, we're not asking for wives to be
That's
in
right.
the mansion. We're asking for to submit to a man. We're asking for wives to submit to a mission. So
Right.
who are the men that live their mission so well that they get to turn around? Because this is where I would definitely agree with you 100%, even though I agree with you pretty much in everything. But this is where I would not have anything where anybody can deny that we're on the same wavelength on, which is I can't tell my sisters out here, hey, listen to these men, but these men can never tell me what the mission is to support the family. Like
Exactly.
it's a bad precedent. It's cognitive dissonance. It's irresponsible. It should be rebuked.
Yeah.
And honestly, we should repent from it and ask forgiveness. We have for years been following someone else's example, which has said we want to enslave you. You need to work hard, but don't ask for anything as far as um, apology, acceptance, uh,
Right.
the ability to be yourself. We don't want your hair to be this. It's always interesting. We'll talk about it with the racist, but then we won't give that affection to the wife, right? The wife is saying the same thing. Like, why can't I do this? Why can't I have my hair this way? Why do I have to dress like this? Why do I have to work, 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 do this, pick up the children,
Right.
all this stuff or whatever? But all you got to do is work a 9 to 5, and that's it. You don't have to take out
If
trash,
nothing.
through the gutters. You don't have to, have a mission. You want me to be obedient, but there's no mission. You want me to cook, but you don't clean. You want me to clean.
Yes.
You want me to not have a job, but then you don't provide. finances. Like
Yes.
at some point,
And
there's
I explained that to my son too. I was, some of his, friends would be having relationship issues and things like that. And I
Mhm.
was like, he was like, well, I just don't understand why she just don't. I can't. Women are supposed to be a helpmate, correct? He's like, correct. I can't help you with nothing.
Yeah.
I can't help you do nothing.
And that hits what you just said, because that I used to be a brother where I really wasn't bringing much. Now I could say I was bringing stuff spiritually. I was getting better. I could say that I was always getting better, but I've told the story, like I wasn't really financially in a position, especially with my situation. My wife saw a lot in me and praised God she had faith. But, when I look back at it, technically she had a lot of faith, because technically, as far as our culture, she didn't have to deal with me at all.
Right.
Uh,
And see,
and
that's the thing. We get caught up on those material things. We get caught up on that money. It is because she saw the spiritual uh, finance that you were working with. You're very, you studied, you were
Mhm.
focused, regardless of what was going on. You had a mission. Now
Yeah,
you
that's true.
might not have been able to move into that mission like you wanted to and as quickly as you wanted to,
Right.
but you had a mission.
Right. And
Yahweh was speaking to you, and she
I
could see
appreciate
that
I
on you.
appreciate that, but I thank you for speaking my love language. But before you lift me up too much, I want to also admit that I can see, especially back then, I could see it in all honesty, but I can definitely see now, and I'm not exactly where I want to be either. I want to do better. However, I can see where it was like, oh, okay, um, you know, I'm supporting the mission. And at that point, even financially, more so supporting the mission, even with stuff with SOC. And it's like, okay, at some point, some of those things are required. Like as a wife,
Hmm.
with security, like my wife, if she wanted to, could go right back today into what she was doing. She was a project manager at the highest heights in government and stuff. It could easily make dwarf what I make right now, easily. And I'm not talking about like, oh no, she making 50,000, 80,000. No, like stuff that I'm not gonna mention where her tax bracket was,
Like
but
we was a tax bracket.
she could easily like like be somewhere where it's like we straight, right. However, the whole time she kept telling me at some point I'd like to feel secure. And really, what it's come down to is like I had to learn. She wanted to, that was her way of like knowing I have her back. And for a lot of brothers, like we don't think have her. We're always thinking have my back first, but not have. We should have each other's back, interdependent, not dependent, independent,
Correct.
interdependent. And so it's like I've learned, she's taught me and helped me to grow a lot in that. And she's in your mind, even as a man, once again, you grow up with so many examples and you see so many examples around you where it's like, well, he's doing that and she still won't, or women feel like that probably too. I see my friend do that and he still won't. But when I
Mhm.
saw, that's what I knew. Like, I figured I wouldn't have got married to her if I didn't consider her to be a wife. However, like when I saw that I actually things were shifting and I had to do that, it was like it took my love for her to even another level, because it was like, oh, okay, like when I do these things, oh, I see those things, like even like neither one of us is perfect, but I can see like, oh, okay, there are things that like she actually will do, and she actually will like. I don't even want to use these terms because we use these bad terms, but guys, we wouldn't like, will she listen or will she quiet down? Some why she always talk, but it's like, you know what, like she sees you so into the mission, and when you made her feel secure, that means she's part of your mission. And once you see that, it's like once she sees it, you're like, oh, okay, like this is
Yes.
dude, this is how we roll. And so now,
Right, because
even
we
more
see
so,
two
like,
things.
yeah,
One, he has a mission, and two, I'm secure and I'm a part of it. We good. There's your ride or die. There's your
yeah,
ride or die right
yeah.
there.
And I mean, and she always was right, like, however, like that's when I really realized, like, oh, and you realize, like, that's why we have to start teaching ourselves when we're young and when we're
Hmm.
children from birth. We need to start teaching these things. But it's like, yeah, and we don't have examples of that. We have, like you said, our brethren, and the time is getting short, so I won't keep us on here too much longer.
Hmm.
However, we have our brethren who are, a lot of our brothers are becoming Israelites, because once again, not just because of word, a lot of times because they're excuse me, a lot of times because they are lacking power. And like,
Hmm.
and that's the same reason why, and we treat it like a job, like a toil. We date like it's a job, like it's toil. People swipe left and swipe right or whatever, based upon, I don't know all the dating app names, but based upon you know um do they look like this, or do they have this, or not even anything that's of deep value. And
Hmm.
like, do you have it in your mindset, where abstinence, like, and really put it like this for brothers, if I could say it to brothers like this, um, abstinence is designed to keep you away from a wife until you deserve one and until she deserves you.
That's
And
right.
like if you realize, and it should be the same thing for sisters, really,
Hmm.
brothers,
Absolutely.
if you recognize that the reason why you should abstain from any marriage, which in our culture, sex is marriage, marriage is sex, but you
Hmm.
should abstain from any marriage, any trying to have fruit of marriage of any type, is because if you're not ready for it, like you said, it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody, it affects your community, it's going to affect their parents, it's going to affect your parents, it's going to affect if you have children, it's going
Hmm.
people that look up to you. How many how many pastors were pastoring before they should have been pastors and got married just because you're supposed to meet that requirement. In our culture, rabbis aren't even rabbis or teachers until they're 30.
Hmm.
How many pastors became pastors at like 21, got married, before they were even a pastor, got a free house from the church and everything that they pastor in, and they're this close every day. If not, finally, they've just come out and gotten a divorce or just left pastoring because they say they can't take it. But it's like you weren't even ready. Like, abstain from all this stuff. Like, be in a child's place, if you will. It's okay.
Hmm.
Stay in your lane as a child until you've hit certain benchmarks. That's funny. Like, you talking about your son. Was he 26 or something like that?
26 now. Yep.
26. So like, it's funny to me because I can see those things. He's intelligent, highly intelligent, has a lot of knowledge on a lot of different things. But even in that, there's things that as a, now 40-year-old that saw him doing things like that or heard even a conversation that I'm like, oh yeah, he's still, he's still a child in that area. He might not like my saying it, but I'm still a child too if he listens to this. But I'm a child in certain areas too. But I'm just saying, like, I'll be like, oh yeah, he's not quite, like, he's close, but guess what? His age is 26, so not quite
Right.
30. That makes sense.
Not
Like,
quite.
I'm not saying you should even wait for marriage until you're 30. I'm just saying, like, in our culture, technically, we would have trained people to be a man by age 15. People are telling you
Hmm.
college and become a man after college, and they want you to get a degrees until you're 28. We would have told you what it is to be a husband and made sure you qualify by age 18. We would have told you what it was to be a father by the age 21. So even when
Right.
we talk about stuff now, we're not even telling people that they can be men or women, male or female.
Right.
What world we gonna raise, and I'm talking about cultural perspective. If you coming from another culture, hey, y'all do what y'all do. But in our culture where we see these brothers coming out, being out of pocket, if masculinity is toxic and you're not even supposed to say your pronoun or whatever,
Like what? Now that I'm offensive. My whole gender just offensive. Okay.
hey, but that's what I'm saying. It's a catch-22. So that's why we come to this thing of, it's like, I speak this word, we throw this word, you speak this word, you throw this word, you throw the seed upon the ground. However, I've learned I can't try to save. First of all, I'm not a savior, but I'm not. I can't save the world. If there are brothers that want something greater than what they have, there is something,
That's
and I
right.
don't mind telling you. I don't mind throwing the seed out.
That's right.
And if it's, and now if it's my seed, then I'm a cultivator, right? I have to. And if it's people who have entrusted me with their seed, as far as their children are listening in or their brothers listening,
Hmm.
whatever, then yeah, I got to make sure, that's why we're even going over the book of Jasher, because I'll be talking about it all the time. Holy Spirit, for our men's meetings, we're going over the book of Jasher. And Holy Spirit came to me one day. It was like, you keep talking about the book of Jasher. Why ain't you taught it yet?
Mm-mm.
And I was like, yeah, that's true. Because, like, it's a qualification for men in our culture. You should read the book of Jasher. So, like, why are we not reading it? But there's not even something we think about because we don't live in we live in the land of our captivity, even in our minds. So,
Yes.
but I do know as time is getting close. I do want to say and leave the last word to you, but I want to say thank you to everybody for being on all the platforms: TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. It's actually recorded on Facebook, but if you would like to see the interaction, the facial interaction, you can go on YouTube and be able to check out what's going on there. It should be up now, and it'll be up once we finish. So feel free to go there and look. At many different recordings of many different things the ministerial staff's doing now. We're very appreciative of them stepping up. There's going to be an every Thursday thing, just like every Saturday we have somebody in the ministerial staff come and giving the word now on the podcast, and every Monday early rise of Bible study we have somebody from the ministerial staff coming up. Every Wednesday we have somebody. So we're getting this message out, and these preachers are
That's
using their
right.
gift.
Hallelujah.
We're thankful and grateful, and soon we actually had somebody remind us that they can't wait till we start getting everybody meeting together in person on a regular basis too. So we're looking forward to all this stuff kind of coming together. So just keep hanging in there. We got a whole bunch of one-on-one stuff that I got to take care of, but by the end of this year, we're looking forward to it. Please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget Women in Red coming up December 24th. As the Minister Tamara actually said earlier, December 24th, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time for that. And then December 31st will be our watch night service. I believe we're starting 8:30 or 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. It should be on the Google Calendar invite. I think 8:30 will just be when music is playing, anyways. But feel free to come in and get into the worship and all that as we're starting. But thank y'all for being on. We really do appreciate you. Thank you for this topic today, Minister Tamara. Appreciate it, and thank you to everybody. Once again, I give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give all honor and praise to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We thank you, everybody at SOC. And I don't have anything left outside of outside of saying our ending. Did you? I leave it up to you, Minister Sarah. Anything you want to leave us with as a final thought?
At first, I want to thank you for inviting me on to the TikTok. I think this is a great idea. Please, everyone, follow me at Tamara Ya9. So next time I can be on TikTok and I can
Yeah.
interact with
Oh,
you
I'm
guys.
sorry. I forgot about that. Yeah. So, yeah, please do. Matter of fact, I guess if you would like to, I guess after if once we're finished here, if you want to sign out of here, Minister Tamara, and then come over there, whoever's on there, if you haven't followed her already, you can see her name pop up. But it's Tamara, TAMARA, the number
Yeah,
9.
correct. Tamara Ya9.
Oh,
Correct.
Tamara, yeah, sorry, TAMARAYAH, the number 9. Tamara, yeah, 9. I'll try to put it in the chat for you guys on TikTok. Feel free to follow over there. We're trying to get her up to 1,000 followers so she can be able to do her own lives, or maybe even next time, like she said, we just be able to come and combine. But we want to say thank you, Dee, but I'm sorry, go ahead and go on with the rest. I
Oh,
apologize.
I just wanted to, yeah, again, like, thank you for inviting me on. I'm excited about this. And I just want everyone to just take, just keep studying. Just keep studying. He'll keep talking to you. He'll keep directing you. He'll keep, showing you, what you need to work on. Just spend time with him.
Mhm.
And Yahweh, just allow Yahweh to direct your paths. Um, I've been telling a lot of people because I've been feeling this a lot, especially as as people go further and further on their journey, and in their relationship with y'all. Do not worry about the ground, but just make sure that you are ready always to plant the seed and to be the example. So that's all I have to say. Kwam Yasharel, keep studying, keep repenting. Remember your affirmations, Romans 8:1, 8:11, 8:18, 19, 28, and 37. And let's get out here. Keep studying and share this word. Gather more of our people together so we can get right.
I'm on. Amen. 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 So thank you, everybody. Kwame Yastel. Barak Allah Atsham Yahweh. And remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, in you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family.
Shalom, family. Shalom, Yasharel.